Hi, this is Mrs. Robertson, and today we are going to learn about slope. This is Chapter 1, Lesson 8, located on page 73 in your math book. We have a real-world link, and it says, Hero Comics prints on recycled paper. The table shows the total number of pounds of recycled paper that has been used each day during the month. Graph the ordered pairs on the coordinate plane. All right, kids, so this is our ordered pair, 3, 36. 3 is your horizontal, 36 is your vertical. So you're going to do an approximation for each one. So 3 up to 36 is going to be in there somewhere. 560. 672. That's one there. 7 is 84. And 12 is 144. All right, it looks something like that. Explain why the graph is linear. Well, the points lie in a straight line. That's why it's linear. Easy answer. Why is the graph linear? The points lie in a straight line. Points are in a straight line. Okay. Now, it says use 2 points on the constant to find the constant rate of change. Point 1, let's use 336, our first one. 3, 36, and put your parentheses around it. And point 2, I'm going to use 560. Okay, change in pounds, change in days. Okay, the pounds is my Y. Days goes horizontal. It's my x-axis, okay? So what's the change in Y's? 60 minus 36 is 24. Do you see where I got the 24? It's 60 minus 36 equals 24. Change in days. Days of the month is my x-coordinate, and those are 5 and 3. What's the difference between a 5 and a 3? 5 minus 3 equals 2. All right? So we have 5 minus 3 and 60 minus 36. So the constant rate of change is 24 over 2, or 24 divided by 2, 12 pounds per day. All right? So always look at your labels so you know what you are doing, and it's very easy. Now let's turn to page 74. We are going to talk about slope here, and with slope it says, slope is the rate of change between any 2 points on a line. All right, you choose 2 points. Slope is on top is the change in Y over the change in X. Vertical change over horizontal change. Now, the reason this is confusing, when you graph points, you always go horizontal to vertical, but in slope, it's vertical over horizontal. Very important. If you get them confused, you're going to get your answers wrong. So it's vertical over horizontal, and then it's very easy. All right, so my change in Y, it is 3 and 5. So 5 minus 3 is 2. And my change in X, from this point to this point, it's 2 minus 1 is 1. So 2 over 1 tells you the slope is 2. Now, another way to remember it is, we're going to find that out I'm going to have you look at the next part here. In a linear relationship, the vertical change which is the change in the y value per unit of horizontal change. Change in x value is always the same. So in a linear relationship, they are the same. This ratio is called the slope of the function. The constant rate of change, or unit rate, is the same as the slope of the linear relationship. It's the same as the slope of the related linear relationship. Okay, now let's apply this so it makes a little more sense to you. The slope tells how steep the line is. The vertical change is sometimes called rise, while the horizontal change is called run. You can say that slope equals rise over run. And I think that's much easier than saying y over x, the change in y over the change in x. If you're sitting in a chair, you must rise before you can run. So think of it. It's rise over run. You cannot run staying in your chair, most people. If you have wheels on it, you could. But it's rise over run. So slope is rise over run. Okay? Let's just write it down. Slope equals rise, and do a little vertical line, over run. And run is considered horizontal. Okay? Any questions? All right, so let's look at this a little bit more. Count the number of units that make up the rise of the line in the graph shown above. Write this number for the numerator of the factor below. Count the number of units that make up the run of the line. Write that number for the denominator of the fraction below. Okay, so here, our rise from here to here. Here we've identified 2 points. You have to identify 2 points. I call these friendly points, where they cross over exactly. So here's one, here's another. So everybody make them dark. They're friendly points. How do I go from this point to this point? Well, the rise is 1, 2, 3. My rise is 3, and my run is 1, 2. 3 over 2. So the rise is 3, the run is 2. That gives you your slope. Rise over run. And you find any 2 points. I could do this point and that point. Here, between this one and this one, my rise is 1, 2, 3, and my run is 2. Between the points, it's all going to be a rise of 3 to 2. It's a constant rate of change. Okay? So the slope of the line is 3/2. Any questions? All right, let's go and look at some examples now. Example number 1. We are on page 75. And kids, if you still are having problems, you can watch this video again. If you go to your ebook, you can click on the tutor. There's a tutor that will help you on this. And there's a video you can watch also to help you. It's not my video, it's the video made by the book. So these are some helping tools for you if you're not getting slope. But I think most of you will. The table below shows the relationship between the number of seconds y it takes to hear thunder after a lightning strike and the miles x you are from the lightning. Graph the data and find the slope. Explain what the slope represents. So first you graph your data. 0, 0, 1, 5, 2, 10, 3, 15, 4, 20, 5, 25. Any questions on how to graph the graph? They've identified the x and the y. Okay, so good. Graphing, check. Now we have to find our slope. Find 2 points. Well, they chose these points here. They chose this point and this point. What's the rise over the run? 2 over, well, excuse me, it's not 2 because we're going up. 10 over 2. And 10 over 2 simplifies to 5 over 1. Now let's go down here and look at what they have here. The change in y over the change in x. Okay, so they chose 25 minus 15 for my y's. 25 minus 15 gives you the 10. And 5 minus 3 is 2. 10 over 2 simplifies to 5 over 1. Kids, you would have gotten 5 over 1 if you just chose these. If I would have chosen this one and this one, 5 over 1 would have gone right there. I always look for the simplest. We're going to practice this a little bit more so you get a better feel for it. It says, so for every 5 seconds between a lightning flash and the sound of thunder, there is 1 mile between you and the lightning strike. Let's look at this little taped message of slope. Slope. In everyday language, slope means indication or slant. Okay, what does it mean in everyday language? It slants. Inclination, not indication. Inclination or slant. In math language, slope means the ratio of vertical change per unit of horizontal change. It's the steepness of a line. In math, we talk about the steepness of a line by the vertical change over the horizontal change. All right, so now let's do this practice problem down here in letter A. Graph the data about plant height for a science fair project, then find the slope of the line. Explain what the slope represents in the work zone. Okay, so week is my X, plant height is my Y. Okay, I'm just labeling it there, so let's plot these points. 1 up 1.5, put a dot there. Over 2, up 3. 3 up 4.5. Over 4, up 6. Okay, so now everyone know how to graph it? Now I have to find my slope. I'm going to choose this point and this point. Let me make it a different color here so you can tell which ones I'm going to choose this point, 0, 0, and this point. What is my rise over the run? My rise is 1.5 over my run, which is 1. So the slope would be 1.5 for this one. Now, let's say you didn't choose 0, 0. Let's say you chose this one and this one. Okay, here my rise is 1.5 and my run is still 1. All right, if you would have chosen this one and this one, my rise would be 3 and my run would be 2. So 3 divided by 2 would also give you 1.5. So what does the slope mean? So our slope is 1.5 over 1, or just 1.5. What does it mean? The plant grows. It means the plant grows 1.5 centimeters per week. That's what the slope means. Are there any questions? The more we practice, the better you get. I know there are questions, you're just not asking them. Pause it. To get the 1.5, it tells you over 1, up 1.5. So the distance from here to here is 1.5. Okay?
Can you just read the first one?
Yeah. 1.5, that's my rise is 1.5, my run is 1. I go up 1.5, 1. Up 1.5, 1. See how the rise is the same on each one of those. It's rise over run. The rise is 1.5, my run is 1. Okay? Now we're on example 2. It says, Ronaldo opened a savings account. Each week he deposits $300. Draw a graph of the account balance versus time. Find the numerical value of the slope and interpret it in words. Okay, so here they've done this for you. Every week Week 1, 300, another 300, another 300. Each dot represents an increase of 300, okay? So, it says, find the numerical value of the slope. It's $300 over 1 week. So the slope of the line is the rate at which the account balance rises, or $300 in 1 week. So our slope is 300 over 1, and it represents $300 in 1 week. Now let's do example B, or practice problem B. Jessica has a balance of $35 on her cell phone account. She adds $10 each week for the next 4 weeks. In the work zone, that's this over here, graph the account balance versus time. Find the numerical value of the slope and interpret it in words. Okay, so 1 week, $35. So over here, 1 up to 35. It's going to be about right there. Okay. Oh, 35 plus 10 is 45. Excuse me, because we have 35. She adds 10. So she started with 35, adds 10. It's going to be 45. Not that one. It'll be about right here. All right. Then she adds 10. So on week 2, you add 10, and you're going to be at 55. Week 3, you add 10, you're going to be at 65. Week 4, you add 10, you're going to be at 75. Okay? So that's what our graph will look like. Find the numerical value of the slope and interpret it in words. Well, it's $10 for 1 week. It represents Jessica deposits $10 each week. Jessica deposits $10 each week. Okay? Now let's go down and do the guided practice. Okay. The table at the right shows the number of small packs of fruit snacks, Y, per box, X. Okay? Always pay attention to that. Then find the slope of the line. Explain what the slope represents. So we're going to graph this information here. Over 3 up to 12. 5 is 20. And 7 is 28. We've graphed it. Okay, now that's a proportional relationship because it will go through the 0. FYI, that is not a proportional relationship because does it go through the origin? No, just FYI, tying in a couple lessons from previous times. Okay, so now find the slope. Okay, I'm going to use this point and this point. My rise from 12 to 20 is 8. And my run is 2. So I'm going to have 8 over 2, which will simplify to 4 over 1. So my slope is 4. There are 4 packs of fruit per snack box. So there are 4 types of fruit per box. Now we are doing some easy ones. Later on it gets much more complicated than that, and we're not going to worry about the complicated ones. I just want you to know how to do the simple ones. Okay, now what are we going to do for homework? This is what you're going to be working on for homework. We have lots of time here today. We'll probably grade it at the end of the class so we don't have to worry about taking it home. You're going to do page 77, all. Turn the page. On page 78, all. I'll look and see if there's one that looks a little more complicated than others, but the first problem is not that hard. And page 79, all. If you get stuck on one, you may skip it and then go on to the next problem. And I would say you could skip 2 problems. That should be all that you would need to skip, and I will look to see if any of them are a little challenging.